Yo, so when I moved down to Texas, me and my wife, we had to start separating some stuff and throwing some stuff away, which of course neither of us wanted to do. But one thing I regret, but then again I don't regret it because my mother-in-law, shout out to my mom, that's my G. She told me something that made sense. If I didn't have those insulated, they would have gone bad anyway. But I had a bunch of Source Double XL magazines. I mean, a bunch of them. And let my wife tell it, they were in the way, right? But I didn't treat them like I should have, like people do with comic books. But I want to talk about the magazine that's missing that nobody talks about. People always talk about the Source, Double XL, right? But nobody talks about, yeah, I'm making y'all wait, of course. Nobody talks about Scratch. Nobody talks about the Scratch magazine, right? I'm one of those people, I don't know if it was once or twice, but I remember hearing that Lil Flip got shot down in Houston because of the Source magazine or the Double XL, one of them. I remember looking at techniques from producers like, who can I name that I remember that was on there? Rockwaller, who had a signature sound in his instruments. The Eric Sermon, very smooth, distinctive sound. Just producers, right? But looking at the Source, the Double XL, and Scratch, this is where I got to know a little bit more about the artist because I was the type of kid that would look into the CD and the tape covers to figure out who produced the record, where was it engineered and recorded at, who did they give a shout out to, who was they giving thank yous to, who was in the studio session. I literally just told my son this. He heard something on a song and he was like, man, it sounded like Travis Scott in a song. I'm like, he was asking me if I knew. I was like, son, I'm doing the kitchen. Like, I don't want to hear the song right now because I was in my own vibe. But I'm like, look at the credits. And then he looked at the credits and he was like, that is it. And I'm like, he don't have the same attached feeling that I have. It's like, man, I knew it. Every time I hear this sound now, I'm going to go and check to see if it's the same, He didn't care. He was over it afterwards. But he did get his answer. But the Scratch magazine was just as important to me, especially being a producer. It's not talked about enough. I think it was short-lived. I know it came out later and went away soon too, but I collected those Scratch magazines too. If you had Scratch, my bad, I'll be looking off because I'll be going back to that time. But if you had a Scratch, let me hear some of the not episodes, but magazines that you had. Which Scratch magazine did you have? The edition, should I say. Man, if I could, all of my stuff for some reason is resulted to Southern stuff. I remember, and I'm going to the Source now. I remember the long pull-out page where they had, I think Jay Prince, Scarface, Zero, Slim Thug, Mike Jones, UGK. Like, I remember that one. I'm trying to think which one was my favorite one. I got to go back and look. But let's talk about it. The Source, Double XL, and Scratch. Let's talk about some of your favorite editions, some information that you found out in those magazines that you didn't know. And if you had to throw yours out, or if you threw them out on your own, you didn't have to, but you did. That was really the dope way to find out information in ways that, we could find in a second. I had the subscription, or I buy them in the grocery store. Man, remember them times? Remember them dances? It's life. It's life with Larry. Peace and love.